Greetings, and today is the first day of the expansion release, Iron Judgement. So here is sort of the first deck that I started using since today. It's so tough for me to make videos, I'm not gonna lie, just because of work. That's why I wish I could upload every single day like I did for the past week, just because of the patch notes and the card reveals. But unfortunately, it's gonna be back to the regular scheduling, so sorry to disappoint some of you guys who have found my videos and wondering that I'm uploading every day, so I apologize for that. But anyway, this is the sort of updated version of Assimilate that I sort of made. So I was trying out different decks today, and which is unfortunate. I didn't even get to play Greedfall today. Usually I play that every day, but I only get like an hour to play that game today, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. So I went ahead and tried to make an updated post-patch version of Assimilate, and this is sort of the deck that I came up with. Of course, I'm still sort of trying it out. I'm still going to be playing games with it. I've already played a couple games with this deck, and it was the best deck that I've made so far, and it wasn't even like that good because of course it's just the first day. So I'm gonna go through the deck. No gameplay today for this video yet, and I apologize for that. I will come up with some gameplay video on the next upload day, so just bear with me there. And Gwent and the Gwent database hasn't yet updated their card database with the new cards from the expansion yet, so I won't be released there just yet. But when it does update, then I will release it there. So this is the updated version of Assimilate. It will be using the tactical decision hero power, although you can really use any hero ability. You can use it between Enslave, you can use Double Cross. Double Cross is the best for Assimilate synergy, but Enslave is good for that seizing and disruption, and tactical decision is good for the deck fin, and I chose to go with the deck fin just because that's sort of my style of play. So, as you guys can already see, Portal is going to be one of the core cards for this Assimilate version, as I think most Assimilate versions have Portal anyway with their Assimilate cards. But this time, instead of the Ducal Guard, I'll be running the Ardfane Heavy Cavalry, simply because of that extra life, so it won't be as easy to remove. But it can still be removed, of course. It's still not that powerful, but with the Ducal Guard, it is more vulnerable, I think, to damage output cards, so I went with the Heavy Cavalry. Of course, this card can be seized very easily, like for example Swears if I'm facing a sort of mirror faction match, or if I'm playing against, or if they have Tourney Joust. Oh, not Tourney Joust, sorry, it's actually resistant to Tourney Joust now, which is great. But cards like damage output cards pretty much that do 5 destroy it, but there's not a lot of cards that do that, so this card is just a bit more protected, so I gotta choose it over the Ducal Guard. Triss Telekinesis is of course good for that create, and she boosts Assimilate by 2, I believe, because if you create a card that creates, then that's 2 cards being created that's not from your deck, and it doubles the amount of Assimilate, doubles the boost of Assimilate, which is great. So Telekinesis is still here. Yennefer's Invocation is good disruption, because I've noticed that since the decks that I've played since the new expansion came out, a lot of players have loved going tall with their units. For example, the Northern Realms have now had more protection for their Trident infantries because of their defender, so it makes it even harder to access the Trident infantry or any of the core engines to destroy. And Northern Realms already have an abundance of engines and supports as it is. Adding a defender just made them that much more powerful. So it was really hard for me to defeat Northern Realms. I don't think I was able to defeat a single Northern Realms deck with this deck yet, which was pretty tough. So Yennefer's Invocation is a good counter for any opponent who likes to play tall monsters. Simply getting, that big point swing, and you definitely want to have that with Yennefer's Invocation. So I have decided to put her in there instead. I have noticed that this deck actually does thin out pretty quickly, so there is a potential that if you play Yennefer's Invocation sort of in the first or second round, you can definitely have a chance of playing the deck out plus adding that card onto your deck while still using the full potential of your deck. It does not, sure, sometimes that if you play that card instead of another one from your regular deck, it's a -1, but because of how easily this deck thins, it is going to be relatively easy for you to play your deck's potential plus the added monster that you choose from Yennefer's Invocation. Next, I have decided to add in the Defender of Nilfgaard, Fifon Var Gurnal, in order to protect my Assimilate engines. So the good thing about this card is, yeah, it looks like it's a 2/2, but adding battle preparation becomes a 7/4, which is actually pretty powerful because he is outside of the range of the cards that target 8 or more power units. So it is out of reach of the tall removal cards. Plus, it is obviously out of reach from cards like Assassinate, Assault, Tourney Joust, all those damage output cards. Obviously, he can be pinged to death, but the pinging is gonna take a couple more than one turn for sure. So you can guarantee that this defender will stay on the field for more than one turn. And again, good for defending those engines. Next, we have Bribery. That's good for that extra create, for the extra boost for your assimilates. Not to mention, you can actually get a bit of information out of Bribery because you get to see 3 cards that are in your opponent's starting deck, and that can pretty much, well, not really give away it can give away sort of part of what kind of deck they're running. Of course, it's tough. It's 3 out of 25 cards that you get to see, but Nilfgaard's just good at that, being able to deck manipulate, deck disrupt, everything that does everything other than pretty much power. But it's getting a lot of power from Assimilate, so it's great. This is a card that I sort of added, I was debating between a couple cards, and I kind of went with this one just because it's the newest card so far, and I wanted to give it a try. War Council. It's giving you more information because you can see the top 3 cards of your deck. So if you ever want to play War Council, combo it with Tactical Decision, so you can sort of play the top 2 cards on your top 2 out of 3 cards in your deck, which is actually pretty good because you can think 1 step ahead, or 2 steps ahead, I should say, which is good. So you're able to sort of have that potential of further thinning your deck. So as you guys can see, already that there's going to be quite a bit of deck thin here. That's why I got it down to 1 card at one point. If it wasn't for a misplay, I could have drained out my whole deck at round 3, but it just didn't happen. But it's okay. But you guys know the potential is there. So this combo could be pretty good in terms if you're a very tactical kind of player. Again, Nilfgaard still isn't my strongest faction, but I am starting to like it more and more slowly. So that's great. Hefty Helga is here as my tactics engine because I need my tactics to sort of get their benefits somewhere. So I'm using Hefty Helga to do it. So obviously Hefty Helga just manages to ping your opponent some more. The more tactic cards you have available, the more powerful it gets in terms of damage. Next card, we have Sweers. Pretty straightforward. Lets you disrupt their opponent's field if they have an engine with 3 or less power. Sweers just takes it. Or if they take a unit of yours that has 3 power or less, probably going to be the Ardfane Heavy Cavalry before it uses its Assimilate. You can just use Sweers to just take it back. I've used this to sort of counter a Philippa. I don't know why they used Philippa to even take an Ardfane Heavy Cavalry in the first place before it even got boosted. But that's what they did. So, yeah. Next card is Minako Horn. It's good for, again, grabbing those tactics. So this is sort of a mixture of tactics plus Assimilate. So it's a bit of a hybrid deck. So I guess I really shouldn't call it Assimilate straight up. It is a bit of a mixture, but that's simply because of obviously Imperial Diplomacy and Experimental Remedy, which lets me play cards from my opponent's faction, which is extra cards for the Assimilate. So I thought it was appropriate to sort of make that mix. Next is Arturios Vigo. Again, good for getting out that Imperial Brigade, and it does make an extra copy of it, which is extra Assimilate power for all of your Assimilate engines that are on the field. Glynis Ape Lornak is the stronger Assimilate card that obviously boosts itself by 2 for every card that you make that's not from your starting deck. So she gets more and more powerful compared to the other Assimilate engines, but of course she is a rather single target, so it is easy for her to get disrupted, it's easy for her to get locked, it's easy for her to get tall removed, etc. But again, if she ever gets hit with a status condition, that's what you have the Imperial Divinus for, to sort of bail her out. Plus, it's another reason for you to have another one of your Assimilate engines to enter the field. So even if they do manage to get rid of Glynis, you'll always have an Imperial Diviner as sort of backup for her, which is great. Next, you have Roderick of Duntine, which is good for, again, getting out all those any of the gold cards that you have left in your deck. I always find him playing in the 3rd round just because of any leftover gold cards in my deck that I really don't want to have in the deck. So Roderick of Duntine is good for that. Experimental Remedy, again, is good for sort of using your opponent's own units against them if they do get countered by their own cards, which is great. So for example, if someone's running an insectoid deck and you manage to get a fork tail, I don't know why they would have a fork tail in the first place, but like that's sort of an example. So there is ways of using your own opponent's units against them, and I've noticed that to be pretty fun actually. Next is Imperial Brigade. Again, deck thin, target for Arturius Vigo. That's sort of what they're there for, plus pretty strong tempo card with it. We have the Dasbo Grunstone, another source of create. Not so much more to say about that, to be perfectly honest. Again, usually a target of Roderick Duntine if it stays. So you can almost guarantee that most of your cards are going to be coming out from this deck, which is pretty good because that's sort of my preferred playstyle, is using my whole deck's potential as opposed to leaving like 9 or 10 cards left in the deck without like any use at all. So next is Imperial Diplomacy, is the tactic create card. Again, if you manage to, let's say for example, Dasbo Grunstone into an Imperial Diplomacy and create, every chance you get to do that, I always take advantage of that, just simply because it doubles the boost of the assimilate of all my engines. So any chance I get to create with a create card, so that's a double create, 2 points of assimilate, 4 obviously for Glynis, so always take the opportunity if it's there. Again, Imperial Diviner is here to sort of get rid of any statuses that may befall on my other engines, or even my defender, because my defender is also pretty important on keeping my engines alive. So there's what the Diviner is there for. Tourney Joust hasn't really been as powerful ever since all the armor cards have been coming out. So Tourney Joust is no longer as powerful as it used to be because it no longer guarantees removal. So you won't really be able to easily get rid of engines without at least comboing it with one other damage output card, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. But I still decided to add it just a sort of filler, just because I didn't want to put in other units. I thought about maybe removing one Tourney Joust for one Spore. That could be an option as well, simply because you don't want your opponent, because like I've said, I've noticed that a lot of opponents like to play tall monsters. So Spores could be a decent addition. It's not a Geralt Axii, of course, but it's still a somewhat good change. The only bad thing about that could be it's not a tactic card, so you're not going to get the benefit from Hefty Helga, nor can it be taken out of the deck by Menno. So that's also a bit of a risk that you got to think about there. But I would make that change simply because you're not running the Seas hero power, so you don't need to worry about having a lot of tactic cards in your deck. So yeah, it's, again, a lot of these cards can be changed for other replacements. This is just sort of a day one test of this deck, and I just want to share it to you guys in case you guys are wondering what kind of deck to run, just to try and counter a lot of those powerful cards, powerful decks that are out there. And last but not least, of course, is the Assimilate Core Engine cards. We have the Ardfane Heavy Cavalry, which is going to be the portal targets, of course. And I've noticed that they've actually been able to keep themselves on the field because it is hard to remove them because there are not a lot of cards out there that deal 5 damage. Well, there are, but you wouldn't want to waste them on a card such as this. You'd probably want to save them on like on the defender, for example, or even Glynis. But Glynis, I believe, comes with armor, so she does have 6 armor. So she's also a bit more oh no, 7 life, 3 armor, so for 7 overall life. So it's gonna be tough to remove her as well. So I've noticed that this deck, obviously, it's not the strongest. It's not as strong of a tempo deck as like Insectoid Monsters and Northern Realms, but I've also noticed that this deck doesn't take as much. So for example, the Northern Realms Engines deck is stronger if they are unanswered, but if you sort of focus on answering their engines with your removal cards, so for example when they play Trident Infantry, almost always want to play Tourney Joust just to get rid of it, just because of the tendency again of them playing wanting to play boost cards to sort of support their ability and have 2 power swings every time they are boosted, and honestly that gets really annoying. So you want to be able to get rid of that as soon as possible. There is no ability here to lock. Of course you can always create cards that lock, but the thing with create is you never really know what you're gonna get, so it's a bit of a risk if you decide to go that route. But in the off chance you get it, it's good for the lock, so definitely considerable if you need a sort of bailout. And this card also has the tendency to, again, disrupt any units that want to go tall. So with the Universe Invocation, do extra creates for extra assimilate boosts. And you can also think twice ahead with War Council and Tactical Decision combined if you choose to do so. So that's sort of it for the deck list. Again, this is just going to be the deck list guide. I will post up some gameplay, and the next day I upload a video, which I believe, so tomorrow I'll be uploading, and the next one, I think I'll add Friday now to the list, just because I feel more comfortable now posting videos, especially after that whole week of posting card thought videos. So I'll be posting one on Friday as well, and Sunday will be another deck. So if you leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video, comment on any changes you guys would like to see on this deck to make it more powerful, and subscribe for more Gwent videos. And so signing out, I'll catch you guys in the next one.